So we are part of Barnet. Okay.
Go. Take 2 or 3.
Thank you. So we are part of Barnet Council, and we fall within the Children's and Family Services, and within Children's and Family Services there is a service area called 0 to 19 Early Help, which works with whole family, and it is a prevention intervention service. And then within that we've got the Trader Services and Programs team, which is where BACE sits within. I'm just going to go through some of the projects that we've got. You may see, oh, hold on, we might be able to be involved in that project in another way. There's different funding pots for different things. So Positive Activities is a project for children that live or school in Barnet. It is free. It is for children who are 0 to 19, and they can access activities in the holidays and also in term time. We don't provide a meal for them activities, but we do provide cooking activities, so children come along and they can learn how to cook, and that's anything from decorating biscuits to making your own Nando's. And we also do a lot of family, so parent and child can come along and they can use the cooking activity as a way of building relationships and better communication and things like that. We've got Duke of Edinburgh Award, and we hold the license for Barnet Council, for the Borough of Barnet, and we have bronze, silver and gold for that, and that's for our 13 plus children in the borough. And then we've got MOPAC, which Charlene explained is for young people who are on the edge or are being groomed or involved with gangs, and it is a referral service, so schools can identify young people. They work with our MOPAC workers in a kind of mentoring capacity. We have also lettings and hirers, so we have 2 buildings. We've got Finchley Youth Centre in East Finchley. I've also got Canada Villa in Mill Hill, but we hire out for different activities, talks, or anything. Any of you guys could hire it if you wanted to, but we also, if you guys are able to get any funding where you're working with young people but you need a space, you guys can come to us, and we are able to negotiate with you. Sometimes we're able to give it for free, so please do contact us. And then also Canada Villa has kitchen units that are for young people to use, so they open up and there's like cookers and sinks and things like that that's already there. So you may have a program or an interest that you think would be good for that. Then we've got obviously BACE Holidays. So BACE Holidays is funded by the Department of Education. We work in partnership with Barnet Young Foundation, and they work with all of the kind of voluntary side, so that's the charities, the CICs, and then we can work with the limited companies, also charities and stuff like that as well. So we have 2 different funding bids. The food will more than likely be coming through us, and you can provide food for the voluntary side or for our main camps and things like that as well. So BACE in Barnet is called, the HAF program is called BACE in Barnet. So it's Barnet Active, Creative, Engaging Holidays, that a young person in Barnet has named it. So I'm going to move over to Charlene, and we've got a little video that you guys can watch.
Perfect, thank you, Laura. So like Laura said, we put together a promotional video. All of the images and videos that you will see is part of the last year BACE programme that took place, and really it just gives you a bit of an overview of what it is that BACE is about and what it is that we do. So it's about 1.5 minutes.
BACE Holidays is a project funded by the Department for Education and delivered in partnership by Barnet Council and Young Barnet Foundation. The scheme is part of the government's National Holiday Activities with Food programme, with fully funded places available for those entitled to free school meals. It provides local children and young people with a healthy meal and an opportunity to stay active, learn about nutrition, and take part in fun and enriching activities. BACE holiday camps and activities are located throughout the borough and offer a safe and supportive environment for children and young people aged 5 to 16, where they can learn, have fun, eat well, and thrive during the school holidays. Come along and take part in a whole host of activities, including a wide range of sports and games, hands-on experience with farming and gardening, and trips to museums, parks, theatre shows, and much, much more. There are opportunities for local residents to get involved too and provide volunteer support at various centres, including the Barnet Food Hub. If you'd like to find out more about BACE Holidays or make a booking, go to barnetyouth.uk. For information about 0 to 19 Early Help Service and how you can access support, visit barnet.gov.uk. For more on Young Barnet Foundation, go to youngbarnetfoundation.org.uk and discover volunteering opportunities at volunteeringbarnet.org.uk.
We love Barnet!
Okay, thank you. So again, just a bit more detail. So like Laura said, the project itself is funded by the Department of Education. Initially last year was a pilot programme, and due to the success of the pilot, they have decided to supply us with 3 years funding moving forward, and that's a national programme across the entire UK. This is in particular for free school meal children, although we do have a capacity to support vulnerable children, which again we discussed in a bit more detail as we move on. So up to 15% of the children that may be attending the BACE camps may not be on free school meals, but they may be identified as being vulnerable in another way. And like Laura said, the reason we're called BACE is because it stands for Barnet Active Creating Engaging Holidays, which came up as part of one of the young people in BACE making in Barnet making that decision. Okay, so the reason that the HAF programme came into place, also known as BACE, is because it was recognised that school holidays can particularly be a pressure point. It was really highlighted during the COVID period. Children were missing out because they weren't attending school and they weren't accessing the hot meal that they'd normally get every day when they're accessing those facilities, same as school camps and things like that were not being run during that time because everything was shut down, and there was a massive increase in the recognition of food poverty within the UK. As well as being about food, it's also about creating opportunities for children to learn about nutrition and also have the opportunity to have some physical exercise. Some of the feedback we have got from parents when they're signing children up for BACE is that they quite often live in flats or they don't have access to garden areas, and that their biggest concern is that their child is stuck within the property during the school holidays, don't get the opportunity to be outside in the fresh air, they don't feel like it's safe, or even just really having the opportunity to take them to a park and things like that. It's not accessible for everybody. So therefore, it's really important that as part of this programme, we're including the food element as well as the physical activity and the opportunity to be outside, in particularly in the summer. The funding is for school-aged children, so we do say it's age 5 to 16, but we are aware that some reception-age children are going to be on that border, so they're going to be about 4.5 years old, so that's where we start from in relation to that. As a borough, our ultimate aim is to offer 3,000 places to children every single day during the programme. So whether that's Easter, summer or winter, every day we really want 3,000 children to be able to access this opportunity, and therefore we'd be looking at close to that amount in relation to the number of meals that we're going to require.
Okay, perfect. So this is kind of what we want to achieve for 2022. So obviously, as Charlene said, 3,000 children over 24 days. So you have your 4 days in the Easter. We're doing 16 days. We have to provide 16 days per child in the summer, but that can stretch over 6 weeks. So you may run week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, or you may do week 1, week 2, week 5 and week 6, or you may only do 2 weeks. It's up to you. And I think we are happy to work with different organisations for what your capacity is and what you can achieve. We would rather people go for something that's more realistic, that you can, we want quality over quantity, basically, in everything that we're doing. So it's total 72,000 hot meals that are going to be served, 288,000 worth of hours worth of activities. On here, some other stats as well, like we work with the local libraries, we work with Chicken Show, which is a local theatre company. We're being involved in the Summer Reading Challenge as well. like trips to museums and things like that. The reason why we're kind of telling you guys these things is that there are ways that we can link up the food and the activities. So whether that is through, I don't know, celebrating a specific culture on a certain day, or having a themed day, so where we're going to be reaching out to our activity providers and trying to find out where we can marry up ideas together on things.
Perfect.
Lovely. Okay, so we have 3 different ways that we basically fund organisations in the Borough of Barnet. So these are the delivery models of our activity providers, I'd say, and how young people can attend. On the next slide, we're going to talk about the food models that we're going to have in place. So the 3 that we've got is specialist, satellite and spot buy-in. So specialist, basically anyone that can provide us with just staff. So that would be if we run a camp and we need 10 members of staff to run this camp, then an organisation would then apply for that funding. Or it might be someone that's quite specific, like Bread and Butter, who is on the call. They would apply under the specialist because they provide workers, that their staff, that facilitators that go into our different locations and camps and teach children about cooking, and they run like 45-minute-hour workshops. But that's anything from, we've had inflatables, Nerf guns, magicians, the cooking, anything you could possibly think of would fall underneath that, as long as, and to be fair, you may not be able to provide, I don't know, 100 meals a day, but you may be able to provide a kitchen staff member, a cook. So they could fall within that, and then we may be able to place them in a school or somewhere like that. So then we've got satellite, and that is where a lot of schools now are going for this, where they will apply for the whole funding. So we have a cost per child per day budget, and then that would need to cover the venue, the staffing, the resources, and also the food within that. So we have more people that are trying to go down this route, which is really great for us as well. And then we have spot buy-in. So this is like Chris from Smart Play. He has a pre-existing activity holiday club that's been running for many years. Some people have just set up, which is fine as well. And what we do is we negotiate a price per
Laura, you're cutting out. Is anyone else having an issue
day
here?
per child to attend. Actually, oh, hello.
Sorry, Laura, you cut out then. Did anyone else have an issue?
Yeah, I didn't hear it either.
Didn't hear what? What bit?
You were saying about spot buying.
Yeah,
and
from
how
my
to
name
subsidise the space.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll do it again.
Don't
Okay.
worry.
So yeah, spot buy-in. So how we do that is like Chris from Smart Play. He has his own provision that's pre-existing in the borough, and we will go to them and we'll say, we negotiate a price on a child being able to attend, and that's where they will get obviously the activity, the venue and stuff, and then we will then match up the food provision to the spot buying provision. So every day Chris will be sent down X amount of meals that are individually portioned for our young people that attend, and there's normally children that are paying on the spot buying ones, but they all go through Chris or whoever the provider is. So that's 3 ways. So all 3 need food. Our satellite and our spot buy-in, we organise and bring in pretty much, and satellite, they do their own thing and they find their own. So modules of food delivery, obviously in-house, that will be the satellite ones, but also some of our camps. If we can get, say, the school staff in the kitchens, or the school allows us to use the kitchens and we can put in a food provider, then we would prefer that as well, because obviously the food will be nice and hot. And then our outsourcing is where we are working with companies, organisations, charities, where the food is being brought in. Last year we worked with 2 big providers, and that was brought in from out of borough, but we started off with doing kind of like the bulk food delivery, where then the staff on site would dish up. We found that actually it didn't work well on site that way, so then we went to being individually portioned, which was a lot quicker for the staff on site to clear up and do what they're meant to be doing, which is all the activities and stuff like that with the young people. With the outsourcing, we are going to look at limiting having a mile radius to your location and the venue, so we're not going to get you to kind of like
Sorry, you're cutting out again.
Yeah, Laura's cutting out again. So basically
Across
what
the whole
Laura
of
is
the borough, because we are quite a big borough. Sorry.
What Laura was saying is that to ensure that the food remains hot from the moment it leaves your kitchen to the moment it arrives in front of our young people, we have decided to limit the radius between the kitchen and where it's being cooked to where it will be delivered to. So that way we're ensuring that every time the meal's of good quality at good temperature, because we do have to bear in mind that these children, like I said, this may be the only hot meal they are going to be receiving that day. And as part of the funding, that's what we've agreed to do. We've agreed to ensure that that day, that child will receive a hot meal. So just to ensure that that can happen, we're looking for as many providers across the borough as possible. And then you'll be given like a locality as to which venues you'll be able to supply to in relation to your locality, just to ensure that the food is still remaining hot and of good quality by the time it arrives. Do you want to take over, Laura?
I'll try, but if it keeps cutting out, you can just run with it, Charlene. It's absolutely fine. Okay, cool. So yeah, it has to be a hot meal. We're looking for a variety of fruit, vegetables, meat options if we can. Young people are asking for it. We've seen other boroughs, they're doing some amazing things, like anything from like a full roast dinner to like barbecues and all sorts kind of thing. So it is possible. We just have to kind of get creative. And Pete's going, no, it's not. But yeah, we can throw the ideas out and see what we can do. I think if we can do things more in-house on site, the better. Things like getting young people to create food and make and prepare food is really good as well, where possible. We are looking, and we did do last year, we had a hot meal, and then we also
we're losing you again, Laura.
We want a snack as well. All right, I'm being quiet, Charlotte.
Okay, so like Laura said, last year in Easter we were able to provide not only just a hot meal to these children, but we were also able to provide them with a dessert every day. We had snacks sent in and a drink as part of the offer. Now, with regards to the dessert, snacks and drinks, these can be either hot or cold. They don't necessarily need to be hot, as we're providing the hot meal. But we also found, actually, after doing this pilot program for over a year, is that some of these children were also coming in hungry and not having breakfast. So we are looking to push and stretch the budget as much as possible, and where it is possible, offer the breakfast alongside that as well. In relation to the desserts and things like that as being part of the food offer, again, the opportunity for children to be part of that food making, being practical and hands-on. So we did have some provisions when they were being sent fruit. They were actually allowing the children to, you know, look at the fruit, cut the fruit, be part of the process, and having the food be a bit more of an experience. What we also found as well is that, like many things, you know, all best planning, you know, doesn't always go as you expect, and there was some food waste at the end of it. Now, we did try and submit some of that, and we were reaching out to like local food banks and things like that, but we would expect any new providers coming on to think about what we can do in relation to keeping food waste down, whether that's going to be an opportunity for us to offer the extra food to families. So therefore, you not only need to think about packaging, you need to think about labelling as well, because if we're handing them out to families at the end of the day, they need to be aware of what's in the food, what allergens could be affected, and those sorts of things. Or if you guys are looking at contacting a local food bank and offering any surplus food at the end of the day to be delivered to the food bank. And again, if you do decide to make an application, we'd like to see some detail about how you intend to be mitigating any food waste. You guys probably already know this information in relation to what's required of you as caterers when it comes to food safety. But working with Barnet, working on BACE, you will be representing the London Borough of Barnet on our behalf when you're sending out food to these children and young people. Families might not necessarily remember the name of your organisation, but they're always going to remember that their child went to BACE. So what we need to ensure is that if you do come on board, that at any time, if we request your food safety certificates, information relating to food handling, any of that information, it needs to be readily available and needs to be accessible to us immediately, because we will get audited, and it is part of the process to ensure that all of our due diligence checks are in place. One thing that might be slightly different from what you're doing already is that we need to ensure that this food nutritional content meets the school food standards. Again, part of the healthy meal that we're offering has to align with that. That is not down to us, that is down to the Department of Education, and it is a source of our funding. So if we don't meet the guidance, then we're not doing our job properly. Again, just a bit more information. You guys already know this. So like I said, health and safety documents need to be in place, and that includes any food safety information as well. It's all detailed in there as to what we'd kind of be able to expect to receive from you if requested. And you'll be receiving the slides at the end of the session anyway. So I'm not going to go through the whole list. You guys probably already know most of this information already. Okay, so requirements for being a HAF caterer. So again, we've harped on about it because it's so important to us. It needs to be a nutritional hot meal every single day, meeting the school food standards. It must comply with regulations of food preparation. With regards to allergy and dietary requirements, again, something you may not be aware of, but all the schools are nut free. So none of the meals that are prepared can be prepared in an area where they come in contact with nuts. So that's something we need to take into consideration when preparing this food. Again, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Barnet and the diversity that we have there. So we do have a very large Jewish population in Barnet, as well as a big Islamic population in Barnet. So when it comes to halal and kosher foods, we are expecting for our providers to be able to take that into consideration when preparing meals. Things as well like gluten-free and vegan options, again, being important to be considered. So these are things that we need you to do that are essential. We do have some things that are desirable that we'd like you to consider if it's something you could potentially offer. So anything in relation to nutritional awareness. So that could be providing recipe cards, it could be providing worksheets, or just some information when sending meals in for the staff to then start discussions with children and young people about the food that they're eating. So if you are going to do a culturally specific food, maybe just some fun facts about where that food originates from, and the meaning behind the food that they're eating, because we want to make this an experience for the children. And the best way to make an experience and make it engaging is for them to learn without realizing they're learning. So the best way to do that is whilst talking over a meal, I think. Again, opportunities for children to be involved in the food preparation, if that's something you can be offering, or either offering taste testing. Some of yourselves may be running organisations where children can maybe get a voucher for their family to come and visit your organisation and eat food at your location. So again, whatever's available, I think just put the ideas out there. Me and Laura, we're definitely willing to take ideas on board, willing to listen to people, and I think the best way for us to learn and to make this the best programme possible is to take advice from the experts. So more than happy to hear from you guys any ideas that you may have in relation to engaging these children surrounding food. Okay, so obviously you're wondering, okay, as well as giving back to the community, what's actually going to be the benefits for us as providers? So like we said before, when you're running a BACE programme and you're providing food for us, you will be working in partnership with the London Borough of Barnet, and the HAF programme itself is a nationally recognised project. So you will be able to say to people that you're working on a project with the London Borough of Barnet that was recognised across the entire UK. Again, it's an opportunity to give back to your local community and build relationships, and you can do that by maybe coming down. You can come down to arrange to come down to the venues, have an opportunity maybe to speak to the parents, get some face-to-face feedback. We do also collect feedback as well, which we're happy to share if you do come on board about the experience that they had with your food and your catering, and opportunities for you to kind of develop those relationships. Again, you can identify as a BACE caterer and food provider, so you would be able to advertise that on your website, and we would also advertise that as well on your behalf. So as part of your delivery, you can brand any item. So if you're sending it in packaging, you can brand that packaging using your logos. You can put a leaflet in any bags. We're happy for you to do that because we completely understand that you're a business, and therefore it's really important for people to know what you're doing, not only in the local community but also an opportunity to get feedback from the children about your food. As well as all of that, all of our providers have access to free training. So we do have opportunity using the Barnet Pod, which is an online learning system. We are looking at trying to offer some more face-to-face training as COVID is lifting and things are somewhat getting back to normal. But again, if you come on board and become one of our providers, we will be able to send you out information for you and your staff to access training. And we definitely see this as an opportunity to grow and develop your business. There's lots of potential avenues that you can you hear me okay? Sorry. There's lots of potential avenues, you know, the ideas when working with BACE is completely limitless, and like I said, me and Laura as a team, we're completely on board to take on new ideas and to offer that support as much as possible, and it may even include you bringing on volunteers, because we have access and support with Young Barnet Foundation to get those for you, and even through our team with the Duke of Edinburgh, you may want to upskill some young people and bring them in as part of your potential bid. So we're there now, and hopefully Laura is somewhere in the background. So this is you guys' opportunity to kind of ask us any questions. Thank you.
Charlene, just before we ask questions, sorry, just wanted, are we going to stop recording now and leave the questions?
Yes, well, I've stopped sharing.
Yeah, cool. Cool. I'll stop recording.
And I know there probably is one question which is going to be about cost, and I know Laura was going to do that at this point, but I don't know if she's got any sound.
Yeah. If you can hear me.
Yes.
So